Hey man, it's me, Kevin Smith. Welcome to the Grow Tent, everybody. You have found the best one channel on YouTube, man. The place where we simplify the approach for you so everyone can learn how to grow. We make it so simple, even I can understand. So I'm going to listen and learn right now.
Woo! Welcome back to the Grow Tent, everybody. We got a fantastic episode for you today because number one, today is September 1st, which means it's time to get some stuff wet. Today is day one of the contest. Drop your stuff, drop your stuff, drop your stuff, because it's a go. Repeat, we are a go. Mission launch, launch control, T-0. Let's go. All right, other than that, we got a great episode for you today. Guys, if you haven't joined the Patreon, make sure you join it. Today's the first of the month. It's a perfect day to join it because you get the entire month. We can have one-on-one consults just like we're doing right here, right now. Also, guys, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, watch the full video. All that kind of stuff really helps out the channel, especially the comments down below. As always, ask any questions you want, and I might make a video on it just like today. Also, guys, remember Mars Hydro is the main sponsor of the channel. If you're looking for any kind of new lights, new tints, anything like that, use code WTTGT after you click one of the links in the video description below, and you too can get yourself a brand new light. They got some of the nicest lights on the growing market, I guess you would say. I know I've been using them for a few years now, and you guys have all seen my gardens. If you haven't, check out my video library. I've got probably 300 videos plus with plants in them, so go check those out. I think that's a long enough intro for today. Remember, the contest is a go, so go. Woo! All right, guys, welcome back to the Grow Tent. I'm so happy to have each and every one of you here. So thank you. I appreciate it. Truly, I do. Guys, as I said earlier in the intro, my nose itched right there real quick. Always, as soon as I start recording, my nose itch. Focus, GT, calm down, relax. All right, we're back on track. All right, so today we're going to be talking about something that is super, super important for a new grower. I still do it, not as much to the extent whenever I was a brand new grower, but man, I need to shave. Focus. All right, so something that's super important whenever you're starting out is keeping track of what you're doing. Keeping track of what you're doing whenever you're starting out, whenever you're learning. This is probably, besides watering and knowing when to water, this is keeping track of what you're doing and writing things down whenever you're doing it is probably one of the most important steps that you're going to do. And a lot of people overlook it because whenever you're starting out, you're like, well, I can remember what I did. You know, it's just, last week. Can you though? You really can't, because it'll start getting confusing. Weeks start getting mixed up real easy. So today we're going to be talking about what you need to be writing down, when you need to be writing it down, the kind of stuff you'll use that I've found. I've tried every different combination in the books, and I'm going to tell you what works for me. And I promise you, if you apply these same things, it'll work for you too. So the first thing is, why is it important? Why is it so important that we are writing down what we are doing in our garden? So there's three main bullet points that we're going to hit. The first one is problems. When problems arise, it's really easy to go back through your grow, figure out what you did, when you did it. So we've got problems, we've got consistency for future grows, and we've just got the main one, which is just actually remembering what you did. So those three bullet points are what we're going to hit on why we need to do it. So the first one is just remembering. You'll be you'd be surprised how easy you can get what week you're actually in mixed up, because you're like, well, yeah, of course it's going to be easy. I'll remember whenever I planted. Whenever you're dealing with 4 weeks for seedling, 4 to 8, 12 weeks for veg, however long you're going to take, and then another 8 weeks for flower, you'd be surprised how quickly, oh yeah, I'm in week 4, or I'm in week 7, or I'm in week 9, how quickly you can mix these up. Because if I'm trying to remember something that's 1 to 2 weeks ago, yeah, no problem. Hey, what'd you have for lunch yesterday? Oh, you got to kind of sit there and think about it for a second. Now multiply that by 4 weeks. Oh, you don't remember exactly what you gave, the day you gave it, the day you transplant. You don't remember. It's very easy to wash these weeks together. And whenever we start washing things together, our consistency is going to go out the window. And consistency on what we're doing is how we're building our baseline to get to a repetitive grow, because we don't want to do just a one-time good grow. We want all of the grows to be fantastic. And just because you had a bad grow last time, and then a good grow, and then maybe a bad grow and a bad grow and then a good grow, that's not what we're looking for, because even those bad grows take a long time to get done. The other thing that they're going to help with is problems. If you are consistently and accurately writing the stuff that you're doing down, whenever you go back, you can say, okay, well, maybe I underfed. You're not going to underfeed, but let's just say that, just for the sake of conversation, you fed and you only gave them like 300 or 400 ppms. The plant was looking for a little bit more than that. It starts to yellow up on you. You're like, oh, well, look here, I only fed 300 ppms. Let's bump that up the next time. And we know when we get to this part of the grow next time with, plants that are similar shape and size, we know, oh, hey, look, 300 wasn't enough. We've got it down that they yellowed on us last time because we didn't give them enough food. Well, you'll know that for next time on the grow because you've written it down. You're like, for plants that were this big, this was not enough food. And you can see by being able to go over your notes of what you have done, you have prevented the problem in the future. Because now you know that wasn't enough food for this size plant. But if you didn't write it down, oh crap, that was a half a year ago at this point. Did I give 300? Did I give 500? I remember that it wasn't enough food, but I don't remember how much I gave them. If you remember, you'll probably remember the mess up, but to remember the minute detail, that's the kind of stuff that it can save you from in the future whenever you just wrote it down. All right, so we went over the remembering part. We went over your consistency, because fixing the problems and knowing the problems from the past and being able to fix them will bring you to the consistency in the future. Because we don't want good grow, bad grow, bad grow, good grow, good grow, good grow, bad grow. We don't want bad grows. So to get the consistency, we want every grow, just like mine. You guys have all seen my tents every single time. Giant tents full of colas, the whole thing. And it's repetitive every single time, because I've done a good job of writing down, saying what worked and what didn't. All right, what's the next one? All right, so next we're going to talk about, what do you write down? GT, okay, I'm ready to write. I got my pen ready, GT. Now what do I write? Okay, so do I write down as much stuff now as I did whenever I was first starting off? Heck no, I almost said the F word there. Which, I probably can, because the channel's demonetized anyway. But what are you going to write down? So I've written down, hey, look at that. I wrote down, I still do it whenever I'm writing my notes for my scripts for the shows. I still write it down, because even though it's fresh in my head, I want to make sure I hit all the bullet points, because I want to get you guys accurate information. So the truth is, you can write down whatever you want. Duh. But what are some of the things I think are important to write down? So first thing is what you gave them and the amount you gave. So if you were like, okay, well, we give 3 milliliters of grow, 5 milliliters of micro, and 8 milliliters of bloom. Not a bad week 4 feeding schedule for flower. Maybe a little touch high on the grow, but hey, whatever. Maybe it was a big plant. So you write that down. So I would write down, G, 3 milliliters, milliliters per gallon, micro 5, bloom 8. And then I will write down what the total ppm of that was in the water. So if I poured that all in the water, I'm going to guess, if you did that in 5-ish gallon, but I imagine it's around 5 to 650 ppm if I checked it. And so I would write down that 560 ppm. So I know what I gave them and then what the total amount in the water was. So whenever I fed, I know I fed 560 ppm of food. Other thing I'm going to write down is whenever I gave mycorrhiza. It's once every other week, but I know that on this water I gave it. So when I come to next week, I'm like, oh, hey, did I give mycorrhiza? This is especially important if you're running multiple tents, because it gets really confusing then. I'm like, did I give this tent mycorrhiza last week, or did I give it 2 weeks ago? Oh, look, I wrote it down. It makes it really easy for me to understand if I did or not. The other things that I like to write down is whenever I change for different parts of the plant's life, like whenever I change the light cycle. So if I am in seedling, I write down, I write down seedling week 1, week 2, week 3, and I click it through there, and it makes it extremely easy. I'm like, oh, did we flip these into veg 3 weeks ago? Did we flip them into veg 5 weeks ago? When did I flip it into veg? Well, I wrote it down, so now I know. Like, it's really easy to keep track of. I know some people do it in their phones, etc. So changes to lights, different stages of the plant's light, I write all that stuff down. Well, I mean, I don't do it anymore. I still write down the stages because, if you're doing like long veggies, sure, it helps to know. So I actually have we'll talk about what I write on in a minute, but transplant days are another thing I write down. So I know how long they've been in that soil, because I know if I've had a plant in a pot for 3 weeks, probably a good idea to start checking what we're going to write down next, which is our runoff ppm numbers. I always write down my runoff ppm numbers. It makes it real easy for me to keep track, when this plant is going to start to need food, since we grow in pre-amended soil. So the next point is, well, GT, when should I write it down? As soon as you do it, because if you don't get in that habit of writing it down the second you do it, so if I'm going to feed them, I'm right over here. As I get done making the mix, I write it down. Because if you leave it, you're like, oh, I'll get to that in a minute, I'll write it down whenever. Get in the habit of writing it down, your important information, as soon as you do it. Because you're going to forget to write stuff down. Something's going to happen, the phone's going to ring, you're going to forget. And then you didn't write down, I mean, I could have swore I fed those last week, but it's not written down on here, and then you feed them again the next week. Now you're going to start to get buildup of nutrients in your soil because you're feeding, because you're messing up. So just write it down, get in the habit. As soon as you do it, write it down. As soon as you do it, write it down. Now, to help you with this, these are the kind of items that I use whenever I am I like to write I started on just a regular calendar that you hang on the wall, but the squares were pretty small, so now I actually just have a desk calendar, one of these right here. I know I'm going to forget to put that picture in there, but you guys all know what a desk calendar is. Hopefully I put it up there, but if not, whatever. The big desk calendar, the big flat calendars that just lay on your desk. I have found that to probably be the best way to keep track of your grows. They're giant, they have tons of room to write stuff down in there, and they're easily flippable. You're like, oh man, when did I start this? You can flip right back through it, like, oh, this month, this day, and then you can count your weeks off. It makes everything a breeze, especially because there's so much writing room, and they're made to be written on. They're made of freaking paper, and instead of writing on little calendars that are up on the wall with these little tiny squares, you can easily record a bunch of information, especially if you have small, neat handwriting. You can put a freaking journal in there. Which brings me to the next point. I don't like writing my stuff in the little journal books. I take a desk calendar. I know this is not to size, but let's say it's a desk calendar, and I take it, and then I just throw it on top of the tent. So I'll slide it off the tent. I'll write on it, and then when I'm done writing, I just throw that desk calendar back on the tent. So I have a desk calendar for every single tent, and I just pull the desk calendar off the tent and write my stuff on it. Then I slide it back up there, and I know that one's information is written right up there on top of the tent where I can always get to it. If you don't want the giant desk calendar, a clipboard with you can print off paper calendars. You don't have to buy calendars all the time. You can just get on Google and go, January 2022, February 2022, and make out a few months, and then you can write them, and then have that clipboard that goes to that tent stay with that tent, and it doesn't move around. It's very important if you have multiple tents. But these are some of the main reasons that it's very important to write all your stuff down, and I promise you, the better of a record keeper you are, the faster you're going to become a better gardener whenever it comes to these amazing, amazing plants. I'll see you guys next time. Good luck, everybody that's entering the contest. I'm pulling for all of you, and I'll see you guys next time. GT, out.